Super Bowl 59 is set. It will be the Kansas City Chiefs and Philadelphia Eagles in a rematch of the Super Bowl from a couple of seasons ago. Welcome to the All 32 pod. Mike Giardi alongside Will Parkinson. Due to some travel stuff, we are getting this done on Sunday night. It's a 10:05 in the evening, and the second game just wrapped up. Chiefs win 32-29, Will. Before I get into that, I got to remember and remind people, this show brought to you by Prizepicks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network, and Gametime, best tickets, best prices to get you in to see any event you want to see. So to that game, 32-29 in Kansas City, the Chiefs have now won 12 one-possession games this season and 17 in a row. And once again, Patrick Mahomes, with enough in the tank, with enough juice, elevating guys like Juju Smith-Schuster in a big spot to get to another Super Bowl and a chance for the first ever three-peat in NFL history.
Yeah, look, it was a great game. It really was. I felt like I don't think either team played their best for 60 minutes by any means. I think there were some sloppy mistakes. I thought there was both quarterbacks were pretty loose with the football at times, especially early on in this football game. But look, Kansas City made winning plays when it mattered most. Buffalo came up short on a few things. I don't think Buffalo did a great job of adjusting to what Kansas City was trying to do on offense. Every time it was third and less than 4, I thought Buffalo was good on defense in those third and longs. They did a much better job than teams normally do. Outside of obviously the one big horrible Mahomes throw that'll get, people will meme and, it was amazing. No, it was a terrible throw. It should have been intercepted. And it was an amazing effort, from Worthy on the ground there. But Kansas City, every time it was third and short, Mike, or fourth and short, did some type of sprint out. They got Mahomes on the edge. They got Worthy on the edge. They got Pacheco on the edge. It was the same thing over and over. It was just, it was amazing. It's a great job from Andy Reid and Nagy. Like they walked the game off on it. They just didn't adjust at all. And it was like, dude, they're doing the same thing every time. How do you not adjust?
Well, and doesn't this also speak to what the Bills did, constantly bogging down in third and shorts and fourth and shorts and running the tush push and not having any success with it? Meanwhile, you have a guy, Josh Allen, who's 6'5", 245-ish pounds, who runs really well. Get him outside the pocket and do the exact same thing that Patrick Mahomes was doing on the other side. It just seemed like there was a tightness to the play calling a little bit and just an overall tightness in those moments. And look, they converted 2 fourth downs for touchdowns. They scored on 2 fourth downs. So it wasn't as if it was all bad, but they made it more difficult, and maybe that's the difference in, it's going to be talked about, the fourth and short where Allen gets stopped. It looks like he's got the first down. What's odd is the blind judge on the opposite side seemed to have the right spot. The guy that was in front of has the wrong spot. They go to review. They don't overturn it. I don't quite know how. It's close. Don't get me wrong. It's close.
Patriots.
But isn't that the thing, though? Like, just get the – but this is the difference in these games. Like, just make that play. Make sure it's not close. Make sure you get the 2 yards, not the half yard. They walk too fine a line tonight, and when you walk too fine a line against that football team with that experience, they find a way to beat you. Yeah.
Look, I'm going to use a reference that maybe 5 or maybe 5,000 of our listeners will get. I'm a diehard Bayern Munich fan in soccer, right? And in 2017, and it's happened a lot, in 2017, Bayern Munich played Real Madrid, who are the Chiefs right now of soccer, right? In terms of they win every year in Champions League and whatever. And it's always the refs, and it's always about the refs. And it was never, it's like, they had the best player. They had one of the best, whatever. Bayern Munich got scammed, right? And I do it too. And you fall in love with the like, we got screwed on this call. We got screwed on this call. And it's like, well, we missed 6 golden opportunities to punch it in here. We missed a 2-pointer here. We missed this field goal here. We didn't get this stop. And it's like, when you're playing these dynasties, and it used to happen with the Patriots forever, and I'm sure people felt this way in the 90s with the Cowboys, in the 80s with the Niners, in the 70s with the Cowboys and the Steelers, and the Colts and all, whatever. It happens every time. Yes, the refs are a factor. I thought Josh Allen got the first down there. They went down right down and scored, and it's like Bills fans are going to hang on that, and I get it. I'd hang much more my hat on Dalton Kincaid drops the deciding play of the game, and that's not that was such a miraculous effort. I mean, it hit him in the chest, and it's like no one was around him. It was an amazing throw actually from Josh to even get it there. You have to, when you go on the road, especially with these teams where the refs, you might be playing 11 on 16. You might, right? And you got the home crowd. it happens and it sucks. And I wish the refs weren't a part of the game like this. And I wish that we weren't ever going to talk about it. But all in all, I don't feel like it was like the most egregious game of like all these different calls, what I was expecting. The Chiefs, you have to kill them off or you will not beat them. The only team that we've seen do it is New England, and we've seen Cincinnati go in there, and it's because they don't make the mistakes. They made the Chiefs make mistakes, right? And like Buffalo's going to be kicking themselves because I feel like while this was supposed to be a year for them that we all were kind of up and down, we weren't sure what to expect, and Josh had this amazing year, and it's like all that said, this was kind of a down year for the Chiefs too. So it was like both teams in a quote unquote down year, and Buffalo had their shot. And it's like, I don't know. I'm not saying that this is like when are they going to be back here? Whatever. Like very easily could be back here and we could talk about the same game next year. You'd be shocked. But I don't know. I felt like they didn't like Kelsey. There wasn't a huge impact. It wasn't like Kansas City ran the ball fantastic. They had a Mahomes turnover really twice. And it's like,
yeah, let me just give you, so like, we're talking about these specific things that people are going to point to, the calls and whatnot. Let's go first half. It's 10-7. Chiefs third. The Buffalo just scored. The Cook touchdown, make it 10-7. Kansas City's third drive, a fourth down conversion by Mahomes. Then they get Worthy isolated on DeMar Hamlin in open space. That's a touchdown. They picked on Kyer Elam in that whole drive. I think he gave up 3 catches and had a defensive penalty on him as well. He came in for Christian Benford, who went out with another concussion, which was really unfortunate and a massive loss for the Bills because he's been their best corner. The Bills get the ball back after the touchdown. It's 14-10. Okay, like momentum has turned again. It's back on Kansas City's side. Crowd's back into it. What do? They drop 2 passes on the drive and then a 46-yard punt return where they blow contain. I mean, literally everybody gets sucked up. There's one missed tackle, and the next thing you know,
should we call this the blow contain game for the Chiefs? I mean, for the Bills, there's like offense, special teams. It was like we can't contain. We're all just gonna. It was both every side of the football.
And then that leads to another touchdown. So all of a sudden, just like that, you went from being up 10-7 to down 21-10. You get the late score. You get the extra point. They're offside. You decide to chase the 2 because you're on the 1-yard line. And we have Josh Allen. And we're going to run the tush push. And Tony Romo had some moments today. And he said, we talked to them in the meeting. Josh likes to go to the left side over the guard. That's what he does. They loaded up on it. They stopped it. So now instead of 21-17, it's 21-16. You go into half. They come out. They score after stopping Kansas City. So, definitely momentum on their side. Go for 2 again. Fail again. Now it's 22-21. Kick the extra point. You take the extra point. 24-21. What have you. Nonetheless, they get another punt on Kansas City. So 22-21, they've stopped them twice. They're feeling it. That is when the 4th down call happens where it appears that Josh gets the first down, doesn't. And then immediately what happens? Kansas City turns it right back around and goes down the field and scores. And they get the 2. And then you're chasing. And I think there's just going to be so much of it is going to end up being focused on the referees, and it just shouldn't be. Like that's definitely a part of the game. Don't get me wrong, but it's not why they lost the football game.
No, that was with 6-7 minutes to go.
Yeah, you had time.
If that was with a minute left, I would have been like, I get it, man. Like that's literally the final play of the game. They had all 3 timeouts, and and even at the very end there to kind of get a stop twice. They got very lucky, actually. I thought the refs blew that. I don't think I didn't see Pacheco being out of bounds. I actually thought that should have been inbound. So, look, I felt like, and I'm going to keep saying this, I felt like on all 3 phases, Kansas City got out on the edge, right? Mahomes, a bunch of times, they didn't adjust on defense at all. And then I felt like the Bills, generally speaking, outside of some James Cook touches, didn't do a good job of getting out on the edges. It was just trying to they were trying to shove Josh Allen as like a square peg through a round hole. It felt like in the entire short yardage, Josh. It was like Joe Brady, who I thought had a really nice year, and I thought was going to be a favorite for that New Orleans job. He obviously pulled himself out yesterday. But by the way, Josh Johnson getting a multiple commercial spots, absolutely hilarious. Sorry, it's on the TV behind me, and I can't stop laughing at Josh Johnson getting a championship Sunday ads. Legend, but insane. But no, I felt like I just feel like Buffalo wasn't that creative on offense. I feel like James Cook could have scored every time he touched the football. And this has been a pattern all playoffs, Mike. And I do think a lot of these coordinators are so creative and they're awesome. And like Joe Brady's awesome and Ben Johnson and, the list goes on and on. They have these superstar running backs. And I felt like today, and we'll get to the Eagles game in a minute, but the only game in which all playoffs, I felt like it's actually the first time. I'll give Kellen more props. Like he's one of the only people today who was like, oh, we cannot be stopped on offense. Yeah. We just run the football. Like, let's not go away from our two best players. And I felt like they don't throw Dawson Knox the ball. We were texting about it at all. He gets this isn't a guy who's like, they give Kincaid, targets. Dawson Knox makes $15 million a year. Like he's a top 6 or 7 paid tight end in the league. He's non-existent. Keon Coleman, I thought the third down call down there was horrible. Keon Coleman is a back shoulder fade against Trent McDuffie. What are we doing? Like that's to me like
Trent McDuffie kicked his ass every time he was matched up.
I just read the vibe of the game. Cook was getting whatever he wanted. I hate to be this guy. I would have run him into the ground today because you had 2 weeks off anyways. It's like if you win this game, and I don't know. I just feel like Buffalo's gonna be kicking themselves, and Kansas City does it again, where they don't beat themselves. Mahomes had the one turnover, but that's it. They don't beat themselves.
Well, let's talk about the final sequence of plays there, where third down. So they go 3:33. They take the ball over. The wild incompletion to start the drive. Then the ball gets batted down. On third down, he goes Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator for the Chiefs.
Had a great end of that game.
Yes, calls the cover 0 blitz. Josh, quick screen to Amari Cooper. Cooper almost breaks the tackle, doesn't break it. So now you're in a 4th and 4 situation. They go with the condensed set, which was perfect for what Spags drew up. There's a cornerback blitz coming from that side and shorter path to the quarterback. And you mentioned it. Josh made an incredible play to get the ball off, and Dalton Kincaid's going to see that one in his nightmares for months, if not years, depending on how things go for Buffalo there. That ball hits him right in the chest, and they don't get it. But that was critical sequence. And again, just feel for the game. Spags had feel for the game in the moment. How do we hurry Josh up? How do we get the ball out of his hands quickly so he can't go Superman on us? And again, he nearly went Superman on him by throwing that ball up there and giving Kincaid a chance. But I mean, Spags has a Hall of Fame resume as an assistant coach for sure.
It's weird. I felt like the end of the first half was one of Spags' worst drives I can remember in like ever since he was on the
right.
It's like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, and I'll give Connor Rogers, who's I work with doing the Jet stuff, and he texted in our group chat and said, "Why did he go full Greg Williams there?" And it was like he did. I don't know what he just out of nowhere. Like they had full control of the game. Buffalo was like it was a 21-10. I'm like, this game might be over. Like I don't know. And then he just like blitzed like a maniac. And just went,
it still took a perfect throw and a perfect catch. Unbelievable catch by Matt Collins. It was almost
just like, hey, man, like, hold them to 3 here. You go in with an 8-point lead. You're fine. And, like, Buffalo kind of felt like gained momentum back. They get the stop out of the half. And you're like, ooh, okay. Buffalo's back in it. And then, Spags flips it around and has a generational, those are – I don't know that he'll ever get in the Hall of Fame because I don't know if we're really ever going to see them open Pandora's box of the assistant coaches. But if there was and they win another one, it's like, man – would be 4 or 5 for Spags?
Yeah.
5, maybe, whatever. And it's
5,
like,
I think.
Yeah. But regardless, it was a great game. I know the refs will be a talking point. I understand it. Mike, I wanted to hit on one thing before we move to Commanders, Eagles. There's a lot of talk this morning about Schefter and, tweeting about the refs and stuff like that. I just was curious what do you make of this? Do you think the NFL is trying to protect themselves because so much talk about the calls and the betting stuff and all? Is that what that's coming from?
So look, I mean, this as well as I do, and I don't do this to cash dispersions, but guys like Schefter, Rappaport, they get told information from people, very high-ranking officials.
Yeah.
And whether you look at it and go, wait, you want me to say what? Or you want me to tweet what? But they do it because of who the source is, and of course they're incredibly reliant on their sources. And I think there is definitely a part of that, like, hey, this was a massive bit of conversation, and it's gained steam as the years gone on. There's been so many close calls, right, with involving them, and then obviously for Mahomes to essentially flop in the previous game, like that's, yeah, I think it's definitely the league is trying to already sort of put out the fire before it starts, or at least, like, hey, no, we're gonna look at it, like we've got our eyes on
Next year.
Mahomes, we got our eyes, yeah. It's like, okay, you do, like they and we talked about it. You're the theory, like maybe someone just lights the guy up because screw it, I'll take the penalty.
Well, look, it's a perfect segue because I want to start with this with Commanders Eagles, and this I had a real issue with the way Sean Hockley and that rule with the tush push, which I think is the most annoying play in football to watch. And I'm gonna sound like a boomer. Oh, you don't, whatever. Like, then just stop it. The Commanders were stopping it, but eventually, there's nothing else you could do but just try to time the snap and jump over and take someone's head off. And frankly, Robert Saleh got in a lot of heat for this last year, and he basically said, like, someone's going to try to take Jalen Hurts' head off because there's nothing else you can do to stop 1,200 pounds of people just leaning on you to get 6 feet. So as much as we talk about, hey, does Mahomes maybe flop there? Does someone try to take a shot? I'm really nervous. At one point, Frankie Louvu was playing out of his mind. He was amazing today. But if he makes contact and concusses Jalen Hurts, and then we're going to talk about how dangerous head-to-head is? No, we should talk about how dangerous and stupid this play is. And we're going to award a team a touchdown. What do you want the Commanders to do? Like, okay, cool. The ball's moving closer and closer, and eventually they're going to score, and it's annoying to watch. I get it. But, again, what are we doing? Like, to me, Mike, I was very frustrated with that sequence.
It's so weird because, look, the Bills had been successful running the tush push this year until this game, okay? So then they're the only ones that run it well. Yeah, the rule is legit, apparently. Like, Mike Sando tweeted out the actual, whatever.
He tweeted, I was like, I can't actually.
Section 4, paragraph 3, whatever. Like, they can officially just give them the touchdown if that continues to happen. I don't know how you adjudicate it. I don't know how you they've thus far resisted the urge to eliminate the play and say that it's illegal.
Ben Hart, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. He was he was a backup with the Packers for a little bit. He said,
yeah,
essentially you just use it as an illegal formation if you line up in a specific, like the offense, because the offensive line condenses, and I don't pretend to know that.
Well,
it's an illegal formation.
Here's the funny part about this, though, is that you're not supposed to push the ball carrier, and that became a rule. I don't know, like they tried to reinforce the rule a few years ago. Has anyone enforced that rule this year? They're literally just pushing guys like it's a rugby scrum. So yeah, I don't know how they. I don't know how they do it.
It was kind of just disappointing because I felt like we just then stopped talking about the game, and it was like Saquon's having this incredible night. The Eagles are just throttling them, but like there was so many, it was just, I don't know. I just think that muddied the water. And like of course it was Sean Hockley who thinks he's like Patrick Mahomes of referees. And
yes.
it's
but come on. You tuned in to see Sean Hockley make calls. Let's pay off our advertisers here. Prizepicks, best place to get real money sports action. Over 10 million members, billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prizepicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible. All just pick more or less on at least 2 players and up to 6 for a shot at 1,000 times your cash. CLNS with that great offer. Download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get you $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prizepicks, run your game, and Prizepicks will have a special for the Super Bowl where they're going to basically give you at least one square, and then you just got to fill in the blanks. So great opportunity there. We'll tell you more about that as we get closer to the big game. Also want to talk about Gametime. If you wanted to go to the big game, it's going to be expensive. You know that. But if you want to go to other games, NHL, NBA, what have you, use Gametime. It's the easiest app. Curated deals to make it easier to find the best price on great seats. The super deal is the best value for the event. Seat views before you buy, on-time ticket delivery, on and on it goes. Gametime picks filters out the fluff to show you incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. to find the best value. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Yeah, so you talk about the game itself, and just there were a couple moments where you thought maybe Washington can hang around, but you cannot turn the ball over. They turned it over 4 times. It led to 4 touchdowns. Now the last one, the game was already over. You know, Will Shipley gets his first ever touchdown after like a 65-yard run to set it up. But the 3 turnovers, when they happened, were critical and stopped all momentum and opportunities that Washington had to win the game. And look, we knew that they weren't nearly as talented. And I think you and I have agreed that Philly, the most talented roster in the National Football League. So it was going to take something at the level they had been playing in the previous weeks, where they were perfect on offense, clean, didn't turn the ball over. And then, oh, by the way, turning the opponent over. No turnovers for Philadelphia in this game. In fact, only just 2 punts in the game. They controlled it, physical up front. Barkley, you mentioned 118 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jalen Hurts with 3 rushing touchdowns as well. And then throws for 246, which I want to get into because we haven't seen that guy for a long time. And they just physically, that offensive line, especially without Deron Payne there for Washington, just absolutely controlled it. And this, again, was without Cam Jurgens. Didn't start the game. Landon, he has been terrific for them at center, replacing Kelsey. Landon Dickerson had to move over to center from guard, where he's an all-pro caliber player. And then he hurts his knee, and he's gamely playing, but we're texting back and forth. I'm like, he can't even move. Like, between plays, you're just like, he's like barely getting back into the huddle. And then Jurgens actually ended up coming in for him, which, by the way, running the tush push with your center who has a bad back that forced him not to start doesn't seem like that makes a lot of sense. But regardless, they whooped him up front, and that was, obviously allowed them to gain a foothold in this game that, even had the turnovers not happened, probably would have still led to a victory.
Yeah, I think they would have won this game regardless, but I do think the scoreline, I don't want to poo-poo, like, the Eagles were fantastic today and all that stuff, but if I'm the Commanders, I'm beating myself up because I felt like every time I got momentum, I had a back-breaking, crappy, like, not, oh, my rookie quarterback looked like a rookie and he threw a bad pick, or not, I was making an awesome move and someone made this amazing punch. By the way, Tom Brady, not every time you punch the ball, it's a peanut punch. Can you stop doing that? It's like he's like just like an AI robot that talks in ChatGPT. It's like, buddy, come on.
This is what we call an out route. This is what we call a stop.
This is a levels concept. You go 1, 2, 3. Thanks, Tom. Regardless,
look, I always say this when you're, for the broadcaster, just as a quick aside, there's always going to be filler. Like they don't. Most guys don't let it breathe, so they feel the need, especially when you're new at it. You feel the need to fill in the spaces with inane chatter. But my God, you were the greatest quarterback of your generation, if not the greatest quarterback of all time. You know things, see things differently than most people do. Can you just, for the love of God, when the game is over, can I say Tom Brady gave me 4 or 5 things that nobody else would give me?
Yeah, just have a take on something. It's like, that's whatever. It's like him. It's like, at least Romo just like is just there, just massaging Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes' backs. Like,
even he was like, "What's Josh doing? What's he doing?" Even he was realized like
that was insane. Look, I thought Washington did some nice things. Jaden Daniels was awesome today again. I just want to start with the Washington side of things. I thought Frankie Louvu was great. I thought Jeremy Chin was really good. I thought, generally speaking, they had at points the answers to the test in terms of Hurts. I thought Jalen started to play better as the game went on and things opened up. But this comes down to Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown are better than your best players on defense. And on offense and on special teams, you can't make the mistakes they made. And 4 turnovers. I wonder if Washington's regretting the Marshawn Lattimore trade.
Baby.
It's equivalent to really trading a 3rd and a 4th. And I know they have all this cap space and they still have, decent draft capital. And this is a roster. This is a team that, for transparently, should be able to compete with Philly for the years to come. But he's gotten worked. He basically didn't play at all for Washington all year, and then came back into Mike Evans and Amon-Ra St. Brown and AJ Brown, and he's gotten an altercation all 3 games. He's not the same player he was.
You made the point, like stupid things that happen in the game when you have momentum. So they cut it to 14-12. And then
what was that 2-point conversion play, Cliff Kingsbury? Austin Eckler's the worst player in your offense. What are you doing?
Didn't make a lot of sense.
You have the mobile quarterback. Let him do. Why is the ball not in his hands during that play? And a 2-way go, do something. But it's like, let me throw a swing pass when I have all the momentum in the world to Austin Eckler 5 yards behind the line. Drives me nuts. Getting cute.
I think Daniels didn't run the ball enough today. But again, the game, some of that is the game's
out of the way,
the script. But like even early on, I thought he should have been more involved. But when they made it 14-12, Lattimore, you mentioned it, DPI in the end zone on Smith. Then he gets into the fight and gets the unsportsmanlike. Just dude, chill the bleep out, right? Just like.
And then after the game, it's the turnovers. Well, you also played like trash, and your defense gave 17. The Eagles at one point, Mike, in the second quarter had 15.4 yards of play. Yeah. Like that's not just turnovers. It was like your defense was getting gashed, and outside of some Frankie Louvu superstar like Troy Polamalu plays, you couldn't get a stop. So and Jake Elliott missing a bad field goal.
Yeah, Mikey Samerstill, who had been playing great, the rookie corner, he had a tough game, and that's you get isolated. We talked about this in the preview show. Like they're going to trust them to be isolated, not all the time, but here and there. And every time they were, Jalen Hurts identified it, and he went to AJ Brown, and AJ Brown ate. There's no reason why AJ Brown shouldn't be like that involved in every plan every week.
It makes it frustrating.
Yeah, but that's only the second time in 8 games that Hurts has gone over 200 yards. He threw for 246 in this one, the touchdown, 0 interceptions. And to your point, this looked like, the second half in particular, looked like the Jalen Hurts of 2 years ago when they went to the Super Bowl. Right, where he identified mismatches on the outside and he took advantage of them. And then smartly, he's got Goddard running underneath, and he worked Goddard as well. Goddard 8 in this game as well. It's like they have tough matchups across the board.
They're saying like we have 6 guys, and like we don't think that all 6 of your guys are going to be able to beat our 6 guys. And this, it's like I thought Brady, the one thing I will give him credit for today, a couple of times he was like, throw the ball, man, like get the ball out of your hands. And it was a bad sack or took a throwaway, and Jalen did a good job of evading pressure today. And obviously these 2 weeks I think are going to be crucial for him and a lot of these Eagles guys. We saw Jalen Carter, we saw Jordan Davis, we saw a lot of guys getting banged up. Zach Bond had a fantastic day. I'm going to be negative about one more person and I'll keep it positive for us. Can we stop with the Bobby Wagner still an all-pro thing?
Yeah,
it's like that ship sailed like 4 years ago, and he keeps getting voted as an all-pro every year and a Pro Bowler. There was a lot of times today, and people, if they want to go back and watch the tape, he's like 8 yards downfield getting drive blocked by like Saquon Barkley on a lead draw. It's like, dude.
Like, so he's a valuable piece for them because of the leadership and the ability to getting people in the right place and cleans up on a lot of tackles, but it's not making the impact sort of tackles that you want to see.
Big high school jump on the pile guy and have the box.
Yeah, he is absolutely. One other thing I wanted to say about this game, just before I give you a few more numbers and we get the hell out of here, is the defensive line for Philly I thought was terrific, and so we talked about Fangio blitz a lot in that second meeting in which they lost to Washington, and Daniels threw the 5 touchdowns, including 3 in the fourth quarter when they had the comeback. He didn't have to. Nope. Those guys from play one, Nolan Smith on the outside, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, you saw had a sack in the game. The not having Cosme, certainly Sam Cosme, their best lineman, certainly impacted Washington, but like Jalen Carter is inevitable.
She's going to have nightmares.
Yes. Absolutely inevitable. That dude is a beast. We've talked about it before on the thing. They don't take him off the field. Like there was at one point he did have to go off, and he'd been on the field for 44 of the first 48 plays or something like that. And it's like that's a 300-pound dude who's bringing it. Like he's not loafing. He's taking on double teams. He's getting upfield, rushing the passer, doing all these things, and like he's still impactful in the fourth quarter. He's a terrific player, and that defensive line. Will and I will give you just a quick little tease. That defensive line going to be a handful for Kansas City.
It seems as though Brandon Graham's going to be activated off IR. So I don't know. I'm not sure if he's going to be able to get back, but if it's just 6 to 7 plays that he gives you of like the leadership of like, I mean, sometimes it's too much, but for the sake of the emotional piece of it for Philly, it might be. And we know in Super Bowls he obviously brings his best. One other note before we get out of here, I want to give Zach Ertz some props.
Bald.
I thought he was done 2 or 3 years ago, to be honest with you. I thought his last year in Philly. Look, he's not a guy who's going to get in there and block. We know that. He's a glorified receiver. That's fine. There's obviously the famous Hard Knocks clip of like 86 doesn't like contact and the whole thing. Goes to Arizona, and I felt like, I was like, oh man,
it's over.
He got cut and then he got bounced around, and it was a little weird last 12 months. And this year, I was like, oh, they signed Ertz. And I remember me and you previewing the Commanders season and being like, hey, him, Eckler, and Bobby Wagner, like, they're kind of just spending money to reestablish culture, and it makes sense. And it did work. And I'm not bashing the Eckler stuff and Wagner for the full season of the idea of it makes sense. He had to spend money. But Eckler gives you, he's unfortunately the hamstrings, and it's not the same anymore. We talked about Wagner. Ertz, I felt like actually gave you a lot, and he became a really good target for me, they have to bring him back. No, like he was awesome today. He was like, he looked like 2017 Zach Ertz, where I don't know. I was just like, wow, okay. You get Terry, you bring De'Ami Brown back, you probably get yourself a T. Higgins or one of these guys, or maybe you're the Jamar Chase Godfather offer team or whatever. You pick the superstar receiver. You're the AJ Brown team. I don't know. I'm probably not. I'm more saying like names. DK, you start to go, ooh, like this team, if they add one lineman, a receiver, some pieces on defense with all this cap space, we might see this matchup again in 12 months, time Eagles Commanders, because Jaden's that good. I don't know how many quarterbacks I would take over him right now for the future. I was doing in my head, are we sure there's even more than 3? Like maybe there's 4?
Pat, Josh, Lamar.
Are you taking him over Joe?
Burrow?
Yes, maybe I don't know. I think it's a conversation.
Yeah.
I think it's a conversation.
Not Burrow. I'd probably put him 5, but I think I take him more
than Herbert right now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He puts
you just saw him do it in the postseason, and Herbert hasn't done it in the postseason.
I definitely take him over CJ and Jordan Love and Jalen Hurts. I don't, and Dak. They've got something there. Today was like the NBA example. We see it in the NHL. There's always the Bill Simmons' theory. You always, you got to go through the trials and tribulations. It almost like would have been too good to be true. They would have won today and had another upset. Like they almost needed to like be like, ooh, this is what it's really, really like,
Yeah, they've got some work to do on the roster, but if he's as special as he was this year and doesn't, CJ kind of didn't fall back hard, but it wasn't the same player.
Bobby Slowick's second year, then we'll be fine.
Yeah. Cliff Kingsbury year 2. It's maybe we changed the thing from Cliff Kingsbury first half of the year to second half to before we get out of here, just Sirianni, second Super Bowl appearance in 3 years. I don't love him. Let me rephrase that. I've met the dude. I think the dude is charismatic as hell. He's got handshakes for everybody. Like there's something about him, but obviously we've seen sort of the erratic behavior, yelling at your own fans, whatever's going on there, using your kids as human shields in press conferences. Like he's done some weird stuff. There's a lot of ego on that team, and he's got him in the Super Bowl for the second time in 3 years. So he's got look, the roster's awesome. Howie did an awesome job. They showed it on the screen. Howie's offseason acquisitions between the draft and free agency. He hit friggin' home runs on all that crap. But someone's got to keep it together. He's kept it together. They're 17-2. They're going to the Super Bowl again. Nick Sirianni, 43 years old, headed to another Super Bowl. It's pretty freaking impressive.
Yeah, look, I think he's just going to be one of those guys that because he doesn't call plays and because he's an irritant, it's hard to be like, how much, I know this is like a stupid thing to say, but it's like how much credit do you give him versus how much is it like on him when things don't go well? How much is it, he's a hard, where's the blame? Where's the credit lie type of guy, but he's successful at what he does. To me, I think he is very much Aaron Boone. And I actually mean this as a compliment in the way of go look at Aaron Boone's year. Every year it's 100 wins. They're usually in the ALCS. This year they're in the World Series. doesn't have a title, and Brian Cashman's it's the same thing where the GM's the face and not the manager, not the coach. And it's like, what does Aaron Boone do? Do you give him credit? Is he the problem? Is he the answer? And it's like how I feel with Sirianni. But if you're successful every year, at some point it's like, maybe we just give him credit because the whole goal is to win in this league and he wins. Right. And last thing, and look, Saquon, I saw a Giants fan, obviously in the New York area, you see Giants fans, and it was an interesting point. And I don't know how you feel about this. I felt like the last 2 years with Saquon, he's been really good. He was really good with the Giants, but it felt like the burst of like that second wind speed was kind of like, ooh, like, a lot of carries in college, a lot of carries early on with the Giants. If he gets the ball in the open field now, he scores every time. It's insane. Like, he's having one of the better years we've ever seen from a running back. And I know there's great holes for him, but like that first run, he's making 4, 5, 6 guys miss. He kind of like got his legs back. And who knows if it's going to last till 2026, 29, who knows? But the Saquon we saw rookie year Saquon is like, that's the Saquon we're seeing now, where it's truly 2, 12, 75. And it's like, wow, 5 carries for 100 yards and a touchdown is pretty cool.
Yeah, every freaking week he's awesome to watch. And you know what the thing is, and they brought this point up, and you've watched him for a long time. He's a great teammate. He's in the middle of everything. Shipley has the 65-yard run, and like, who's down there? Who's after he scores the touchdown? Who's down there again? Like, you're out of the game, dude. You were massaging your calf. Like, maybe just take it. But no, he's just all gassed up.
They are going to tremendously benefit from this extra week off. I think Kansas City's, this was a grueling game, but Kansas City had 3, almost 4 weeks off. Felt like Houston game was like, never really felt like it was in doubt, even emotionally. It wasn't a taxing game for them. This was, and Kansas City again will get re-healthy again. But I don't know. Philly having 2 weeks off, I guess my preview is I'm probably going to pick Philly. And we talked about it. I probably shouldn't, but I'm probably leaning towards Philly right now, and they're probably kicking themselves because Ertz doesn't have that fumble in the Super Bowl. They probably feel like this is them going for 2 out of 3, or almost they could have been the 3-peat team. Who knows? This will be on turf, not on crappy, grass, and Sirianni will probably cry during the national anthem, and we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. But
Chris Jones will cry on the other side.
Yeah, he's every week, right? He's always
Chris
good
is
for him.
I like it.
Chris Jones is soft side, and then he puts that.
He does, yeah. And then he's he's just slapping people around. All right, that's gonna put a wrap on this. We're gonna hook up again at some point later in the week. We are both doing some Senior Bowl stuff, so that's gonna be fun. Thank you for tuning in. A reminder to like, listen, subscribe, rate, review, do all those wonderful things. Get your podcast wherever you get your podcast, plus on YouTube as well. We will see you again later in the week. Hope you enjoyed the football. See you.